Now, for the next speaker, Dr. Björn Paulsson. He is the CEO of Paulsson Inc. And Dr. Paulsson, he will talk about monitoring underground methane and hydrogen storage. We've been talking a lot about hydrogen and hydrogen storage today. Take it from here, Mr. Paulsson.
Thank you so much, Hans, and thank you for inviting me to present at this conference. I'm at another sort of Scandinavian focused conference. It's a Norway, Texas, Colorado conference here in Boulder, in Golden, Colorado. So I'm talking from you from a snowy Golden. Let me share my screen. I will talk about underground storage of gases. We are doing a project right now with PG&E in Northern California, monitoring methane or CH4, which is natural gas and used for power generation, heating, cooking, etc. in all over California. This particular gas storage field serves California from Bakersfield up to Oregon. We have been doing this monitoring for about they did the installation about a year and a half ago. So our system has been online for now 18 months. We recorded during that time half a petabyte of data. That is 530 terabytes of data. So it's a very data intensive operation. Next slide shows, let me just modify my screen a bit here. We need new and effective sensors to monitor account for methane and hydrogen when you store it in the subsurface. The technologies used today are surface seismic sensors, the far away low frequency, i.e. low resolution. Surface seismic sources, likewise, low frequency, typically less than 100 hertz. And borehole sensors today are limited aperture arrays. Think of this as antennas. And if you have a large aperture antenna, you get high resolution. Small aperture antenna, you get low resolution. So for effective survey and monitoring, we need large aperture, high frequency borehole sensor arrays. And that's what I will show later on in the presentation. High frequency borehole seismic sources and real-time true depth processing and imaging. The survey and monitor market for energy storage is a $2 trillion market, so this is real money. Underground gas storage has today 15,000 wells at 412 sites. I'm going to turn on my pointer option, laser pointer, it's easier to see. So it's a 15,000 wells at 412 sites, 3,000 wells, so 20% are at risk. It's a 750 billion market by 2026. Today is about a 500 billion. So we expect a fast, rapid growth of that market. The carbon capture utilization storage market, which was the topic for my presentation here at the Norwegian, Texas, Colorado meeting, is 14,000 wells to be drilled before 2050. I would say at least 14,000 wells. Another 750 billion. Enhanced geothermal system, which is my particular favorite. It has the potential to generate 2,300 gigawatt of energy. That is twice the current electric production today. And the United States is very well endowed with geothermal power, and in particular California, but also California, Nevada, and the surrounding states of California are also very high potential geothermal energy. Cleaner, enhanced oil and gas recovery. We even if we want to go green today, we have to live with oil and gas, and the better to have it sort of less polluting than we do today. I'm currently believing in existing drilled wells, 65% of the oil behind the known location. Nuclear energy is giving a comeback. Germany turned off all the nuclear power a few years ago, but in the view of the Russia-Ukraine war, they're now turning it back on again. And nuclear energy has the potential to not only be a stable base load, but also generate and store green hydrogen by electrolysis. Wind installation, we are part of offshore wind California. California has a plan to generate up to 25 gigawatt of wind energy offshore California, and the excess power there can be used to store green hydrogen. The optical sensor funded by Department of Energy was then originally invented by the US Navy, and they came up with a 30-year mean time between failure by the Navy, very large bandwidth, which is of course what you need for high resolution, 5 hertz to 14,000 hertz, is 100 times as sensitive as a today's standard seismic sensor, a geophone. Very high vector fidelity, which means that you know exactly where the energy is coming from, which is important when you map the subsurface. And we tested our sensor to 320 Celsius, 708 Fahrenheit, and that is, of course, important when you do geothermal work, and they are intrinsically safe and robust. The subsurface is not like a set of pancakes. It's very complex. This is actually it's a simple approximation of what the subsurface really look like. So you need high resolution in order to see these complexities. Unconventional oil and gas really was made United States independent of oil, and we actually became an exporter of both oil and gas due to this unconventional oil and gas. And while we're turning all our energy production into a greener alternatives, this is still will fuel our cars and heat our homes. This is a net electricity generation where coal is going out of favor, which is a very dirty energy. Natural gas is coming up, nuclear is but steady, renewables has a climb. But it's in order to be energy independent or go totally green from the renewable, by 2050 we need to really accelerate this process dramatically. So I will show a couple of things which makes the imaging of the subsurface possible. We have developed a set of all optical sensors funded by Department of Energy, and this is one of the sensors. It's an optical accelerometer, and we can see when we're looking at this, so the micrometers, which is 1/10 of a joule of energy. The geophone, the industry standard sensor today doesn't see it at all. Signal noise ratio of 0. Accelerometer, high-end piezoelectric accelerometer, signal noise ratio of 5, and our fiber optic seismic vector sensor has a signal noise ratio of 250. And that extreme sensitivity and large bandwidth makes it possible to actually hear the fluid flow in the subsurface, and also allow us to map the subsurface process and make them much more efficient and energy compliant. Another test, we dropped the 25 milligram needle and 1 centimeter, and it generates 2.5 microjoule of kinetic energy. It's equivalent to magnitude -7 on the magnitude scale. So not only could we see the first arrival, and can you also hear the sound? Did I share the sound, Hans?
Yes, you did.
Okay, perfect. You can hear the sound. So, but when we look at what really happens with these bounces, we see the first bounce, as you saw and heard in the previous slide. We can actually hear 5 vertical bounces of this needle for over 100 milliseconds. Then the pins fall over for 150 milliseconds, and what the other 12 bounces are when the needle bounces horizontally. So it's in short, this is the kind of a sensitivity you need in order to hear the fine fluid flow processes in the subsurface when we're injecting methane and later green hydrogen for energy storage. You can see that the frequency band is over 10 kilohertz on this frequency spectrum. And again, this is the sound. Here's a pause, 150 seconds. Next set of sound when the needle bounces horizontally. So underground gas storage project with PG&E, funded by California Energy Commission. We have a number of optical sensor, the interferometric sensors, our accelerometers, our proprietary sensor. We have rayleigh scattering for acoustics, Raman for temperature, and Brillouin for strain. And the underground gas storage consists of 84 wells, and it drilled from a pad just out south of Sacramento in many different directions. This is actually an old gas field, which is now being used, reused as a energy storage currently for methane, but in the future also for hydrogen. So once you produce this hydrogen, if you can't use it immediately, you need to find a place to store it. And this is one of the places where it will be stored. This is up in Sacramento Delta on the McDonald Island. You can see that the pad where 84 wells are being drilled, have been drilled. This has been operational for a number of years. You can see a wellhead on there. During our installation, we bring out our instrument container with our instruments. And here's during the installation, one of our technicians putting this fiber optic cable. It's a 1/4-inch fiber stainless steel tube with, I think we have 5 fibers inside this tube, but 6 millimeters in diameter for the metrical view. And it was installed down to a depth of 5,500 feet or about 2 kilometers. You can see that a bigger scale or bigger picture of that wellhead. So it's a pretty massive wellhead. So it's about 12 feet tall. The borehole is not straight. It goes in a deviated about a 21-degree angle from the vertical. And then you're looking at a slide now with about 500 terabytes of data compressed into one picture. And we can see before we started to turn on the gas flow, you can see that the temperature gradient is cold at the surface, about 50 or 60 degrees, 70, I guess 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And at the bottom, it's about 140 degrees. That's a normal gradient in Earth. And then you're turning on the gas and you start to withdraw gas. So the temperature goes up, increases as the gas is flowing from the cold, from the hot subsurface to the cooler near surface. And then we do a number of tests. And with our sensor, we can see each individual test. And here's when we do the differential plots. Of course, differential before it's a zero change. Here we have much colder at the bottom of the well because we are withdrawing the hot gas and heating the near subsurface. And then we did a number of production tests, and with our optical sensor, we can see each of these production tests. We have a number of events. We have the gas tube waves, and this is kind of a functionality test of the sensors. We also see something we call the goldfish. I will come to that in a minute. But these are actually very important events in terms of the operation. They did the production test, 5 million standard cubic feet per day, 10, 15, 20. And we drew 20 million standard cubic feet per day. They overdrew the reservoir and started to suck up water up to in the production tubular, which you can see here. We have a gas tube wave, and then all of a sudden there's water in the system, and with that gas tube wave disappears. Instead, you have now a water tube wave. So with this system, we can really calibrate and monitor what's happening in this gas storage reservoir, which is, of course, critical for safe and efficient operation of this as an energy storage system. Here's this what I call the goldfish. It turns out that the inside of the tubing is high pressure methane, and small bubbles is working through the thread of the tubulars which are screwed together. When it comes out in the lower pressure environment between the production tubular and the casing, it expands. It's a expanding gas bubble which oscillates according to about one pulse per second. So we can actually see minute leaks in the production tubulars This is not the catching the small minute leaks, but it's interesting now. We can actually see really what's happening in detail inside this energy storage system. Noise logging, we did a noise log. This is from just about 2 weeks ago. So you see up-to-date data. They lowered a probe into this well down to 5,500 feet, and then we drew it and then did a little repeat run, and we could see the lowering speed 1.3 feet per second, or about 0.5 meters per second. They waited, rested for a minute at the bottom, and then we pulled up the log, stopped, and listened for leaks. And so the whole idea here is that we are comparing our method to listen for leaks in the tubing with a legacy logging system. So the idea is that we can replace legacy logging system with a much more accurate and precise and less interrupting technology than standard with the legacy logs. There is one of this goldfish again, and of course the logging process didn't completely miss this kind of effective. We have 3 types of tube waves. We have the steel tube waves in the tubulars. The gauges are made of steel. We have the water tube waves in there between the tubing and the casing, and we have the gas tube waves inside the gas, the production tubing, which is filled with gas. So there, with this technology, we are really able to control to monitor what is happening in our reservoir. And here's a little short video where they're lowering that log into the borehole to the bottom at 5,500 feet, or about 2 kilometers, resting for a second. But you can see that we can now do this in real time. This is a video of the real-time video, but we did this in real time, and then it comes up to the surface again, slows down as it comes surface near the surface, slows down, and then repeat run and a very fast final pull out. So in summary, we need effective sensors and processing image and monitor the injection of CO2 as part of carbon capture utilization, methanes, and hydrogen storage. And here's an example of how we actually generate images where the gas is in the reservoir. So thank you so much for attending my presentation, and I'm open for questions.